Hey everybody, it's Christian Buckley doing another MVP Buzz chat, and I'm talking today with Gary. Hello.
Hey,
So Gary, for folks that don't know you, I know you've been in this space for a while, but who are you, where are you, and what do you do?
yeah. I'm Gary. I live in Minnesota, in rural Minnesota, a big whopping 2,000 population here in Glenwood.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, I liked. We moved out of the cities a few years ago just to get a little more peace and a little more area for the kids to roam. Um, I'm taking off the next few months here, coming up in a few weeks for parental leave. We'll have child number 9. So that's pretty exciting.
Very
Um,
exciting.
let's see, I've been in the endpoint management systems admins since high school, really. I got an internship back then. So it's been over 20 years, coming up on 25 years.
So were you doing like classic desktop support kind of stuff,
Right,
break fix stuff, and okay,
right.
yeah,
Yeah, I worked my way through college as one of the college help desk guys. So that I actually learned a whole lot more working for the local IT than I did in the classes. So
yeah.
that's kind of how my learning style has always been. Just get some test stuff and hammer it out, figure it out, versus instructional. So
I one thing that I'm really happy about what's happening with, I mean, not great things that are happening with like around formal education, and I mean, stuff costs so much, and I think is that companies are starting to realize we need people that are passionate, that have the right skills,
mhm.
and whether they got an A in English is irrelevant to a lot of the technical things that I need there. But you're seeing more and more people that are kind of coming up through the ranks and that just have that technology bug, that gift, and to go and
Right.
do that. And you used to see that a lot more. I mean, some of the smartest people that I know in the tech space came up through that help desk support. They're kind of the jack of all trades,
Yeah.
IT, standing up servers, setting up laptops and workstations, running all that, pulling cables, wires. Remember that when that was a thing?
Yeah. Well, thank you
Um,
very much for considering me one of the smartest people you know.
I put you in the class. It's a large class, so I'm just don't know that we're not going to get into specifics. All right, yeah, yeah. But
Yep, I
well,
did all that too, pulling cables in college through the ceilings because I was a little
yeah.
bit skinnier back then on long, dangly arms. Came in handy for pulling cable.
Hey, I have a good friend who did the same thing. Like out of high school, got a job. Like he went and got certifications, and he's putting in phone systems and other things. But started a company, and he's like my age, a little bit younger, is retired, traveling the world, spending money now instead of making money. And so look, there's a lot you can do, but so not knocking it at all. I'm envious of those folks. But well, so tell me, what was your path to becoming an MVP?
Oh, so let's see. Um, over the past decade almost now, I've been like attending MMS in Minnesota, the Midwest Management Summit.
Hmm.
And then um, so back in 2012, I actually started config manager at the Minnesota Department of Health. And through that, I got some training from Johan and some other like Kent Agerlant and a couple other folks. And um, one time at MMS, they were doing like a birds of a session, and people were asking, "Well, how do you do this and this?" And it was just like an open forum. I'm like, "Well, I've done that. I can help you." And so eventually, Johan's like, "You should just start a blog." So I started a blog. I still had a domain name from years prior when I used to just have my own like little blogging site for college, and I would just do social things because it was like pre-Facebook back then, and
Yeah. Yep.
so I had my own little web server running, front page 2000 on a, and then running a little Linux server, the lamp stack back then, and but anyway, so I had a domain name that I owned that I hadn't been using for years, so I threw up a blog, Garytown, and so that got me more involved in the community, and then I started presenting, and then um, I got a job at Wells Fargo with several other MVPs, and really honed my skills. And you don't really learn. I mean, I shouldn't say that. You learn under fire in a very large organization of like 400,000, 500,000 endpoints, and you learn very quickly things that you used to do in a 2,000 seat. You don't do in a 500,000 seat because you will melt a lot of things. So I really honed skills at Wells Fargo thanks to just an amazing team there. And then I went to HP for a few years, and then now I'm at Two Pint Software, working with a bunch of the people that I worked at with Wells Fargo. So like, and then so some of the names are like Mike Terrell, and I work with Michael Niehaus and Johan, one of the guys I learned from, which is really cool now that I'm working with him. And Brian Mason, he's amazing when it comes to like infrastructure for config manager. So a lot of config manager stuff, but along the way, like my MVP is in Windows and PowerShell. So along the way, I ended up doing a lot of the scripting work for PowerShell in Wells Fargo for their OS deployments and for their Windows as a service. And so that's where I got decent at PowerShell. And then when I was at HP, I had a little bit extra free time on my hands just due to the projects I was on didn't take a lot of time. So then I met David Segura, who's also a PowerShell MVP, and I got active in his community project, OSD and OSD Cloud. And so I spent a ton of time on OSD Cloud, adding a lot of functionality around managing HPs. So it would make, basically, if you're running OSD Cloud on HP, you got all these extra features. So I could kind of quantify my time working for HP as like I'm making things better for HP products. Before I went to HP, I'd started down the route of adding features for Lenovo and Dell, but I had to kind of scrap those, otherwise I get a little trouble. But I might bring some of those back now that I'm not tied to HP anymore.
Yep. No, there's benefits of being neutral from a content community standpoint to go in and talk about different things. Like, yeah. But then again, it's always nice to be employed by anybody and
exactly.
Being paid, so it changes constant.
Yeah, I love doing community stuff and giving back to community, but like I got to feed some kids here first. But then if there's extra time, definitely enjoy going above and beyond, because a lot of things that I enjoy doing too, I might not get necessarily to do for work. And that's how it was with HP for sure. I didn't get to do a lot of things I enjoy. So then I still would blog and do those things on the side just because those were my passions. And if you can't have your passions while at work, you might as well do it afterward and put them into the community.
Yeah. It's I mean, how supportive is your current company with the MVP contributions and community activity?
So Two Pint is incredibly awesome when it comes to supporting community efforts. They sponsor several like user groups. They're one of the big sponsors for like MMS and like the Workplace Ninja thing that just happened over in Switzerland. So they're always promoting, and they actually give away a lot of things to the community and to like nonprofits. Like they'll actually give free licenses to their product to quite a few different organizations. But yeah, so they are huge into community. So that's always one of the things, like as we're developing new products, what part can we just give away, and then what parts can we sell? Because we still need to make paychecks too, but we definitely want to give back at Two Pint.
As a marketing guy, I mean, I've been in tech my entire career, but on the marketing side of things, there's incredible power on the freemium model. I mean, I think it's become such a normal thing that you have your free and low cost, and then you have your primary services. And I mean, all the data shows that you nurture people, you get them in the door, and it gets attention, and it ramps up into customers. I used to find doing community activities, and I've worked for companies that supported and some that were not very supportive of community activities. And the ones that were supportive, and would, I realized I was very blessed to have a company when I first became an MVP that would pay to have me travel, represent them around the world and speak at events. And but it was still my weekends. It was like back in the SharePoint Saturday era. It was like all Saturday events. It was my time, and I was doing the blogging and the other stuff. But a lot of times I'd have salespeople coming up to me and they're like, what did you present on? Oh, this other thing that has nothing to do with our products. And he's like, yeah, we had just a huge group that came out of your session right over to our booth. They want to know about it.
That's awesome.
And so that was, it was a very proud moment when our VP of sales came to me one day and said, and he was kind of against the evangelism side of things. He says, I get it now. He says they started doing tracking of the sourcing of all of these clients. And he says, like, you're influencing millions of dollars of sales. Like, we now have the data to show that. It's like community has value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was a big driver for my switch from HP to the 2 Pint. Both 2 Pints doing things that are much more aligned with my passion, and then the ability to do more with the community with HP. Great company and all, but like if I invented something or did something, it's like, well, the instant question was, how can we monetize patent and do stuff like that with it? Versus, yeah, couple times I actually blogged things and I had to take them back down after a manager saw it. It's like, that's IP. It's like, well, it's really not, because like I'm just following the documentation HP's made, but just simplifying it so people can actually, use HP products. But anyway, so
Yeah.
it was a fine line while I was HP, but at 2 Pint, that was a major driver for me, just to be able to be more active in the community again.
Yeah, it's funny again that companies react that way. It's funny. I joined Microsoft just I think right after Robert Scoble had left, and similar to his story, like because I brought a bunch of IP in and side project things, and so I had to go talk with legal, and everything was in my employment agreement. Like I'm bringing this stuff in. I own this. This is not related, and I was just being very careful, and was told not to blog. Period. I'm like, well, I'm not stopping. And Scobles kind of did the exact same thing. And he was told, you can't write about this, talk about this stuff. And he's just like, I'm doing it. Like, fire me, and he went on to have a very, illustrious career, being very community focused, out in the open, sharing his knowledge. And there's a lot of benefits to that. But so talking with people that are interested in becoming MVPs or out in your technology area, like, have you had conversations, given advice on what it takes to become an MVP?
So I think this was my third or fourth attempt, and I was finally admitted to the MVP program this time. So along the way, like I talked to MVPs and everything, and it sounded like I was doing everything right. So it was really hard to like understand like why I didn't get it in previous times. Like I never got feedback. It was just kind of like
it is a black box, and
yeah.
I mean, rarely, but they occasionally do provide some feedback of why you did or didn't, and it'd be nice to know, why, but but I mean, that's entirely up to the contact of the product team. It really
Right.
truly is a black box, folks. If there are people that have deserved it for years, and for some reason, like, just never got it, or not yet anyway.
Yeah, so like most of the times when I was previous submissions were typically around endpoint management, which I do a ton through Config Manager, and I was always denied on that. So this time around, they submitted it for Windows and PowerShell, because I do tons of that, and that's so I guess it's just like they don't want me for endpoint management, but they'll take me for Windows and PowerShell. So I'm like, okay, I'll take
Well,
it.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's the product team that is the one that kind of, makes the selections. And so if they feel like they're adequately represented out in
This is true.
community, Like it may be a full. There's no cap on any like numbers as far as I understand, but a team may self-cap themselves and say, yeah, we've got enough of what we're managing. And so, yeah, find a related area to focus on. And as a marketing guy, again, you adjust the marketing mix at how you're positioning yourself, and
Right.
suddenly it hits.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, very cool. And what are your, but you blog a lot, like what are your primary contribution types? What are you most passionate about?
Yeah. So what I'm mostly known for, what people use are things I do around operating system deployment, task sequences, and then like OSD cloud, for instance, and then integrating like BIOS and driver management. So from like the big three, Lenovo, Dell, HP, I've done a lot of work with how to integrate those into streamlining your operating system deployment, or even like your feature updates, because going from Windows 10 to 11 isn't necessarily a small deal anymore. They've made huge improvements. Like going from XP to 7 was like just stab me now, but going from 10 to 11 is a whole lot better than it used to be. So
that was in the design. That was supposed to be in the design. I mean, Microsoft is trying to do that, and I guess, and it does make it easier. That stuff is the way that they've architected the cloud, around support for these things. So
right,
yeah,
and so hopefully, this going from 10 to 11. Like I know there's a lot of companies like they got a year, and I hear companies that are, when they get new devices, they still put 10 on it, and that's like, oh, you're just causing yourself, because like you've got 1 year now to like undo that and get to 11, and so that's a disruption to those users. And so like I would like things that we're doing in 2.0 to help those folks to get to 11 so that they can be supported, and we're working on ways to make cloud management of those devices or imaging from the cloud a whole lot easier. So that's one of the passion areas I have, is to still allow people to do what they used to do with CM, but do it differently.
Yeah. Well, very cool. Well, Gary, of course, I've got all of your social profiles and stuff. We'll get connected out there. Where, if people want to reach out and connect with you, where are you most active in social? Where can people find you?
You can find me on X pretty easy. Otherwise, I do hang out quite a bit in WinAdmin's Discord, so they can find me there as well.
I will have to put that link in. I'll go find that and put a link in the profile as well. So, well,
that's
awesome.
Amazing community out on the WinAdmin's Discord.
Yep, I've got it. It's right there. So I'll add that link in. So, well, really appreciate your time, Gary, and enjoy and good luck to you and your wife with the latest entry into the family, and maybe we'll see you at a future event.
Yeah, for sure.